5 people died searching for a bronze chest filled with gold, but when it was finally retrieved, the finder refused to reveal where it had been hidden. Over 250,000 people destroyed their careers, spent their life savings, and walked directly into deadly mountain wilderness following a cryptic poem. What the dying millionaire took to his grave, and the eerie final clue left behind, exposes a truth far darker than a simple hunt for riches. Freeze that moment. Rewind 10 years. Before the body bags. Before the court cases. Before the madness took hold. In 1988, an art dealer named Forrest Fenn sat in a sterile hospital room listening to his doctor deliver a death sentence. Kidney cancer. Recurrent. Inoperable. He was told he had less than a 20% chance to survive. Forrest was an eccentric millionaire, a former Air Force pilot who spent decades collecting priceless artifacts, gold nuggets, and rare jewels. Faced with his own mortality, an idea took root. An obsession born of fear and legacy. He decided he would not die quietly in a bed. Instead, he bought an ancient bronze box, forged in the 12th century. He filled it with gold coins, ruby rings, prehistoric jade figures, and rare gold dust. Total value? Over $2 million. His original plan was terrifying in its simplicity. He was going to walk deep into the Rocky Mountains with a bottle of sleeping pills, clasp the chest to his heart, and let the wilderness take him. He wanted his bones to rot on top of the treasure forever. Then, something unexpected happened. He survived. The cancer went into remission. But the idea never left his mind. For 20 years, the bronze chest sat hidden in his home, glowing with millions in stashed wealth. In 2010, at 80 years old, Forrest decided it was time. He loaded the 42-pound chest into his car. He drove out into the vast, silent wilderness alone. He carried it to its final resting spot in 2 separate trips. Then, he published his autobiography, The Thrill of the Chase. Tucked inside was a poem. 24 short lines containing 9 secret clues. He made a simple promise to the world: if you can solve the poem, you can have the gold. The internet erupted. Within weeks, thousands of ordinary people transformed into obsessed treasure hunters. Families abandoned their mortgage payments. Engineers quit high-paying jobs. People sold their cars to buy metal detectors, climbing equipment, and satellite phones. Every single line of the poem was dissected like a sacred script. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. It sounded so easy. So inviting. But the wilderness does not care about gold. And what searchers failed to understand was that Forrest had secretly built a psychological trap into those 9 clues. By 2016, the hunt took a horrific turn. A 54-year-old grandfather named Randy Billieu bought a small inflatable raft, a GPS tracker, and packed his dog into the car. He drove to the Rio Grande River, convinced he had decoded the first 3 clues. He dropped his raft into the rushing water. 2 weeks later, his raft was found adrift. Empty. His dog was standing on a riverbank, starving. 6 months after that, searchers found Randy's skeletal remains downstream. He was the first. He would not be the last. Over the next 3 years, 4 more people vanished into thin air while chasing the millionaire's bronze box. A pastor. A mechanic. An army veteran. A young woman. Their bodies were pulled from frozen rivers, plucked from steep cliffs, and uncovered under mountain snowdrifts. Police chiefs across 3 states pleaded with Forrest Fenn. Stop this game, they begged in national press conferences. People are dying for your gold. Call it off before another family buries a child. Forrest refused. He stood in front of television cameras, cold-eyed, and insisted, the treasure is not in a dangerous place. If you are in danger, you are doing it wrong. Yet, he added a terrifying caveat that sent chills through the community: I was an 80-year-old man when I hid it. I made 2 trips from my car in one afternoon. This statement drove people insane. If an 80-year-old man could carry 20 pounds of gold to the spot twice in a single afternoon, it had to be close to a road. It had to be easy. So why were people dying? The thrill turned into paranoia. Forrest started receiving death threats. Crazy searchers showed up at his front door in New Mexico. One man broke into his home, convinced the gold was hidden in his basement. Another stalked his granddaughter, convinced she held the missing piece of the puzzle. Forrest had created a monster he could no longer control. Searching forums spiraled into madness. People accused each other of murder. Some claimed Forrest had faked the entire thing, that no chest existed, and that he was watching people die for his own sick entertainment. Then came the emails. Forrest received hundreds of emails a day. He answered a tiny fraction of them. In one email, a searcher asked if the chest was underwater. Forrest replied with just 4 words: "It is not underwater." That single answer sparked tens of thousands of wild searches across dry creek beds. Yet, nobody found a single coin. Year after year, the wilderness claimed more lives, ruined more marriages, and consumed millions of dollars in search and rescue taxpayer money. Yet the strangest, most unnerving part of this multi-million-dollar enigma wasn't the dead searchers or the hidden gold. It was what occurred on a blistering morning in June 2020. On June 6, 2020, out of nowhere, Forrest Fenn made a brief announcement on his website. "The treasure has been found," he wrote. It was under a canopy of stars in the lush, forested vegetation of the Rocky Mountains. That was it. No location. No coordinates. No name. The hunting community exploded in fury. They demanded proof. They called it a hoax. They claimed Forrest felt the legal walls closing in and fabricated the finding to stop the lawsuits and the death count. 2 days later, Forrest released 3 photos. They showed the bronze chest, covered in dirt and green patina, resting on a wooden table. Inside were the gold coins, the statues, and the ancient jewels. The finder refused to reveal his name. He refused to reveal the state. He refused to reveal the clue solutions. Why the absolute secrecy? Because if the location was revealed, thousands of furious, empty-handed searchers would descend upon the sacred ground, tearing the wilderness apart. Or was there a darker reason? Under relentless court orders from lawsuits filed by bitter searchers, the finder was finally forced to reveal his identity months later: Jack Stoof, a 32-year-old medical student. Jack admitted he had spent 2 straight years obsessing over Forrest's words, reading every interview line by line, mapping every sentence. He found the chest in a dense forest in Wyoming. When he dug it up, he opened the heavy lid with trembling hands. And what he discovered inside shocked him to his core. Inside the chest, resting on top of $2 million worth of gold, was an old leather-bound scroll sealed with wax. It was a note left by Forrest Fenn. A 10th clue. Jack Stoof read the scroll. Then, he immediately locked the chest in a secure vault at an undisclosed bank. He refused to read the scroll's contents to the public. He refused to show the coordinates written upon it. Just 3 months after the treasure was retrieved, 89-year-old Forrest Fenn died suddenly at his home. He took the true meaning of the poem, the secrets of the scroll, and the exact location to his grave. Today, the exact spot where 5 people lost their lives remains a phantom. Searchers still walk into the mountains searching for the site, not for the gold, but for the answer. Because one final clue remains locked away in a private bank vault, hidden from the world. Was the treasure really an act of romantic adventure, or was it a dying man's cruelest psychological experiment? If you knew that solving a simple poem could grant you millions, but might cost you your life, would you have decoded the first line? Subscribe to Nocturne Files and turn on notifications so you never miss another mystery hidden in the dark.